Okay. I will change my screen. I don't have a big work, but I will try to explain what transition is, and I will display some example that I make. To start, transition works with two main things. First, we need to have a CSS property that we want to affect, and we need to set a time. This time is the time that the transition must last. So, for instance, here, can you see my mouse? Okay.
Yes.
For instance, to work with transition, we can we can work with a CSS property. In this example, I'm working with a width, and I'm I'm having a duration of 2 seconds, and the transition function, the timing, the speed of the transition. So the transition will start fast and then slow and so on. The transition delay property, the time that uh, must there before the transition starts. So here work for Safari browser with the common syntax, but use the shorthand um, for all this. So I just could write one single line, avoid always just putting the wheel. For instance, I can put hey if I want to change the hey, the time, um, the timing function, and um, delay. Um, this is an example that I take from the page where I choose to study. And here, for instance, I have a box that have a wheel and height, a background red, and this has a transition. This transition will affect, for instance, the width, and it will last seconds. It will have a speed, linear speed, and this will take 1 second before it starts. So property the hover, when I, for instance, put my mouse over the square, it will grow 300 pixels. Then I will display up now my examples. This is a simple topic, and I have three examples. For instance, move the mouse over the square and wait for a moment. I will move the mouse here. You can see that the square grows and some text appears right now, and some properties of the square change, like the color. The example 2 is an elegant square. In this example, if I move the mouse over the form, you can see that the color change, um,
Yes.
are more bigger. In the third example, you can see how the property of this bag change too.
Oh.
Instead, if I move here my mouse, the square is grow, the text is grow, and I will explain what I do.
I like third one.
Yeah.
What would you like? What do you like?
Third one is my favorite.
Great. I will explain. And the first, for instance, this. Um, I have only the same thing to explain better. So this is uh, the first the first example. Move here. I can show you here. This is square. So I have a function called a mouse over, and I call it uh, and I'm passing the property of the list to that function. So I the property of the list, and I say um, uh, the width. I I need that square means the space, all the width and the width part of the picture. And this is another function. This is a function that waits for a time to distribute. For instance, when 20 seconds pass, uh, this form will take 4 times in the letter, and it will fly over the square word, phrase. It's tasty, and you can see properties in that picture. One, okay, this is the class property. One, in here. So this is the original property. As you can see, we have a wheel and a head. Maybe to work in a case in a week. This will last 6 seconds, maybe only 3 seconds, and this are the very possible for all the process work. Do you have any question?
No, I don't have any.
It's a very easy topic. So um, in the previous lesson, in topic 7, I used this transition with rotate and other things. I will explain what I mean in topic 7. I I create a solar system. I will click it, and you can see that it has a transition because it works with a rotate function. It is just an example. Um, I choose image in PNG, and I use an image of back in the background, and I use some transition property uh, for all the movement. And well,
That's cool. I like that.
yes, I like this. I saw it in a website, but I create by myself by doing the code of the W3C spool and applying some code that came, so I could make.
Thank you.
Um, do you have any question about the topic?
I don't think so. We've
No.
covered it already, so it's
Yeah.
Yes, this
understandable.
example, the first is similar to the to this and to that. For instance, example two, example two. This this is an elegant space. For instance, I have the same function, a mouse, and I calling this make this elegant. I pass the div properties, and I have a class elegant. The class elegant, for instance, uh, the class elegant has some property that for the square, the space, and all the default property, and I create a transition that we change the default value that are these. When I move the mouse over the square, and I'm calling this make this elegant, I'm only change the opacity of the square and the font size. Um, and this is my presentation. Do you have any question?
No, thank you.
No.
Great. Um,
All right, so let me share my screen and I will teach my topic. Okay, can you see it?
yes.
So first I wanted to just show you a website that I found that I really like. It's called Should I Prefix? Because when you're looking for information on the web about different attributes, it's hard to know whether to put the prefix on, whether you need the WebKit or not. And so this is a thing that just goes through all the different types of CSS properties and tells you if you need to prefix or not. So transforms, you should prefix, which I didn't, I need to go back and do. But transitions, you don't need to prefix. And so that will help you know whether or not to use those prefixes. So it's shouldiprefix.com.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're talking about transforms. A transform changes the look of an element when you're viewing it in the browser. So, and it can also be triggered by JavaScript. So here's the syntax. It's you put in the CSS, you put the class name, and then you put transform, and then whichever transformation you want to make, and the measurements. So there are some transforms that are 3D, so they not only move side to side, but they also move closer and farther away from you. And that goes along the z-axis. Are you guys familiar with the z-axis? Axis? I didn't say that very well.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically it can move it closer to you. But in order to make it possible for that to show up, you need to put a perspective in the parent div. And I just put 1,000 pixels just because that's what was recommended on one of the sites I was looking at. And then also put transform style, preserve 3D on the element that you're transforming, because that will make it so it actually shows the depth of what you're doing. All right, so there's several different transforms that you can do. One of them is scale, and these are all the different types of scale that you can do. There's just basic scale, and you can put just one number in and it will expand it that many times. It's like a multiplier, so it would be the regular size times 5. Scale X does horizontal, scale Y does vertical, scale Z does closer and farther. And then you can do the scale 3D, which does all 3 of those. So here is an example. This one is just a scale, and it moves it half the size. This is scale Y, so it will make it 5 times taller. And this is scale with both directions, so it'll go 2 times as wide and half as tall. Any questions on scale?
No.
Okay. The next option is translate. Translate moves the entire element somewhere on the page. So you have translate X, which will move it sideways. Translate Y will move it up or down. Translate Z will move it closer or farther away from you. And then you can do just translate, which you can put X and Y in there. It will move up and over, or down and over. And then a translate 3D will move up, over, and closer to you. And if you put a negative number in, it will go the opposite. So X would normally go down, but it will go up if you put a negative number. So here I've got to translate. It goes both over and down. Translate Y moves vertically. This is a negative number, so it's going up. Translate 3D, notice it's coming closer to you as well as going down and over a little bit. And you can tell it's closer because it's gotten bigger. And translate Z will make it, again, bigger or smaller. Any question on the translate?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good examples. I like.
Oh, thank you. Okay, next is rotate. Rotate obviously will rotate the element. There is just rotate, which is actually the same as rotate Z. It will just rotate it sideways on the page. Rotate X will rotate along the X-axis, so it will rotate top over bottom, end over end, like that. Rotate Y rotates along the Y-axis, so it will rotate side to side. And then rotate 3D, you actually need a 3D element, which I don't have, so I don't have an example of that. And again, if you put a negative number in there, then it will go the opposite direction of what it normally would go.
Sister, I have one question.
Yes.
How do you make that the rotation last forever?
Oh, okay. So I put a transition on it. Let me find where it is. Okay, so hold on, let me look and see where exactly I've got it. I apologize. Skew. Okay, so with the rotate, I have R1 and trans object. Okay, so R1. So I've put an animation on it. So I did a keyframe. So let me show you my keyframe. So I have, there it is. Okay, so I did a keyframe. So I've got at 0%, it's at the normal, and then 50% it's moved halfway around, and 100% it's gone back to normal, or it's gone all the way around. If you put a 0 here, it will flip backwards. So you have to put 360 so it continues going the same direction. And then up on the element, I put an animation on it, and I have infinite set. And so it will just keep doing the keyframes over and over and over.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
All right, the next one is skew. Skew distorts the shape. It changes the angle. So just an example, here this skew has a 30-degree X and a 10-degree Y. And so notice it's changed both, well, it's changed all 4 angles. That doesn't make sense. That's not what I meant. It's changed, so the top and bottom are not straight and the sides are not straight either. So it's changed both directions. This one is a skew X, and so it's just changing along the X axis. So it's only the vertical sides that have changed. And then this is skew Y, which changes along the Y axis. So it's going to be your top and bottom that change. And then there's also a skew 3D, which I did not do. No, I'm sorry, it doesn't. Never mind, there's not a skew 3D. Skew is one that I don't really completely understand, like why you would use it, but does anybody have any questions about skew?
No.
Or any examples of why you would use skew? What do you guys think? Any thoughts on that?
I think maybe it will be some interesting idea to you, especially first one. So it looks, yeah, it looks, especially if you do this with images, some images, or
That's true. I guess if you were doing a 3D image and you were doing a cube, then the sides, if you were rotating it, the sides would need to be skewed.
Mhm.
So maybe that's an idea. Okay, so if you want to do more than one transform on the same element, you only write transform once, and then you list the different transforms that you want to do with the measurements. So this one has a rotate, a translate, and a scale on it. And notice it rotated, it translated, well, you can't really tell, but it's moved to the side a little bit, 30 pixels. And then it also had the scale changed. It got wider and shorter. And then finally, there's matrix. And matrix is used for 3D elements, and it combines all of the different things together in one element. So it has scale, it has a skew, both skew X and skew Y, skew Y and skew X. I'm not sure why the Y goes before the X, but it does. And then you have scale Y, and then translate X and translate Y. And there are different websites where you can go and play around with the numbers to get exactly the outcome you want before you plug it in. So this has these numbers plugged into it, and it does kind of a crazy thing to it.
wow. I like it.
Okay, so here are some real world examples. I have some flashcards with a quiz as to what you would use. So what would you use if you wanted to turn an element upside down without reversing the text? Which transform do you think you would use?
Ask again.
What would you use to turn an element upside down without reversing the text? So you still want to be able to see the text and not have it backwards.
Mm,
Do you want to see the answer?
Yes, I can see the answer. I want to.
So you would use a rotate Z 180 degrees, or you would use a rotate. Either way, basically you're wanting to rotate it around, but not flip it. So we'll say we got that right. Okay, what would you use to move an element to the left 300 pixels and down 50 pixels?
Left.
Which transform would you use?
X and Y?
You would use X and Y in a translate. So translate is the transform that you would use. Okay, and what would you use to make an element twice as big and rotate it to the right 10 degrees? I'll go ahead and just show you. You would use a scale and a rotate.
Yeah.
So in my example, I've used a rotate. Hold on, let's look. Let's see what I've used. I can't remember. So in this one, I have used a rotate X, and I've rotated 180 degrees. And then when I click on it and say it's correct, that uses a scale, transform scale. It goes to 0.8 and then back to 1. And that's what causes the little border on it before it turns green. So here's my other real world example. This is a slideshow of my son. He's on a mission in Honduras. And so
Congratulations.
Yeah.
thank you. So when I change the slideshow, I have it set to rotate, and then I also have the scale. Do you guys say cheque, leke, panqueque in where you're at? Alfredo?
I don't know what it means. Chiqueleque.
Panqueque. It means cheque means okay, I'm doing well. And cheque leke panqueque is just what they say. It's just like, hey, I'm doing great. Cheque leke panqueque.
Great.
It sounds like pancake.
Yes, so I think panqueque is pancake, or maybe it's just English and they're saying it, but yes, it just means I'm okay, pancake. Sort of like in English, okie dokie artichoke is something we say. Just right. So, and there he is in the jungle.
Wow.
And walking down the streets. And they have lots of hills, so they have stairs everywhere. So anyway, so to change the slideshow, I have, here is my code, parts of it. So I have the perspective, 1000 pixels, and I've got the preserve 3D to make it so it looks three-dimensional. Then I used a rotate X to rotate it around as it's coming in. A rotate X and also a scale to make it bigger. And then on the text, I've used a rotate X. And I've used a transition with a cubic Bezier. And that's what makes it do the little jump. If you look at the text, it kind of bounces.
Mm-hmm.
If you use the Bezier curve, it'll do that for you. All right, so that's everything I have. Does anybody have any questions?
No, thanks a lot.
You made a
Okay.
great work, sister. It's awesome. It's awesome.
Thank you very much. All right, so we have one more week, and I think Darren's supposed to teach next week. Is that right? Or Hiram? Has anybody heard from Hiram?
No.
So probably I will teach next week.
Oh, is it you next week? Okay.
No, because we haven't heard anything about Hiram. So
Oh,
about
that makes
3 weeks.
yeah. So yeah, if you can plan on teaching, then I mean, maybe I'll reach out to Hiram and just say, "Are you coming anymore?" And if not, I would say, "Yeah, go ahead and plan." Or maybe, do you want to reach out to him, and then if he doesn't get back to you, go ahead and plan?
I think I don't have his contact information. Do you have?
I have. You know what? He emailed me a couple weeks ago, so I will reach out to him. I will email him, and then I will just let you know if he gets back to me.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Have a great day.
Yeah, you too.
You too.
Bye, Alfredo.
Bye bye. See you.
Bye.